Hey you, so I actually just finished creating a video earlier and it was actually me talking about my most favorite brushes for bronzer application, and that's why I'm looking very bronzed right now. But the reason why I'm creating another video in the heels of that is because something arrived a few minutes after I finished vlogging, and it's actually here. So my order from Beautylish actually contains the eye products from RMS Beauty, which is called the Cashmere Eyelights, and I am actually so excited to play around with them, and I just really can't wait. And because my setup is here, everything is still on the table, I said to myself, I think it's best if we just continue on and play with makeup throughout the day. So anywho, let's go through my order here. Here it is. So okay. I actually forgot that I ordered more than just the Cashmere Eyelights from RMS, but we'll be talking about those on this video, because in this order I also got the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish Powder. So I'm very excited to try this out. I'm gonna talk about this in a future video, so if you're interested to hear my thoughts on this product, please subscribe. Okay, but for our video today, we will be talking about these four RMS Beauty Cashmere Matte Eyelights. So there are 8 colors in total, and I could only afford to play with 4 for our video today. Now I also have one here, and it's just labeled as Eyelights. So this is a gifted purchase. So I think there's a difference in formulation between these two, because after all, here it's labeled matte and this one is Eyelights. So maybe this might have some pearl or shimmer or glitter in it, but we'll try it out a little bit in the video. And I'm very excited for this because this is the first time that I'm trying out products from RMS Beauty. Okay, all right, so I'm just gonna open these boxes. Alright, so this is the packaging of the RMS Beauty Cashmere Matte Eyelights, and I absolutely love them because they're in aluminum. And I love packagings like this that comes in a tube, because it's actually very easy to store in the makeup kit. It's also actually very easy to control, and this just reminds me of being back in college, wherein I'm in painting class, and then I'm squeezing out colors from an aluminum tube. So I love it. And according to the packaging here at the back, it says that this is actually made with 100% recycled aluminum, and each of the ingredient inside here is made in Canada with quality ingredients sourced from around the world. Okay, so that's a nice call out. So let's swatch these products now one by one. Okay, so the first color that I have here is called Malo Coast. I don't know if it's pronounced as Malo or Malio. My Spanish is coming out. And let us, I love the tip of the packaging here. Look at that. And basing off of the initial appearance of the product here on my arm, it has a moussey type of consistency. Actually feels very cooling as well. And look at that amazing pigment payoff. And I think you have amazing coverage with this. So I believe a little bit will actually go a long way when you're using these Cashmere Eyelights from RMS. And it has a very nice warm tone brown to it. I think it has a hint of pink as well, which is actually very pretty. I think this could be a very nice one and done eyeshadow. Nice base on it. Okay, now the other one, this is called Desert Rose, and I'm gonna swatch it next to Malo Coast here. Okay, not too much. So it's actually very easy to control how much product that you squeeze out of the tube, and I like that because at least we don't get so much product. So this one now has a very nice warm salmony pinky kind of a color. Also very beautiful, very playful shade. If you have blue eyes, this is going to look amazing on you. Okay, next we have the color called Mossy Stone, and I'm gonna squeeze it right beside Desert Rose. Ooh, this one looks to be quite a neutral brown, and I'm just going to swatch this. So if you have medium skin tones, I think this will work for you. It has a very nice warm tone to it, which is actually quite pretty, and I think it's going to add a little bit of brightness also into the eyelid. And the final color that we have here is called Wildflower. Now I don't know why I've bought this shade, but I was very attracted to the lilac-y tone of it. like in the packaging. All right, so it's actually a white shade. Look at, there's nothing lilac with this color. So this is a very nice base white color. For sure, it can work with a lot of pastel shades. And we're getting a lot of those types of colors for this summer season. Okay, so I am just a little bit worried about how this will appear on the eyelids, because it might appear patchy because it's white. So I think a very thin layer of this might work, but we'll see on how this will actually really apply on the eyelid. And I can see that it's starting to dry down here on my arm, and oh my gosh, it's actually not budging. Look at that. Look at that. Amazing. Okay, see? All right, so just looking at this now, I think I might be having an issue with the color, what's the name of this? Wildflower, because it's looking patchy on my arm. So I think you have to be very generous with this when you're applying it on your eyelid, but let's try it anyway. Okay, so what shade should I try first? I think I should try the color Malio Coast. Okay, so it's here now at the back of my hand, the color Malio Coast. And I have here the Shodo 00 brush from Rephr, and I'm gonna load it here onto my brush. And I'm going to lightly tap it all over my eyelid. Now, according to the packaging here, by the way, it says that you can use your fingers to actually apply this as well. Okay, so this is the color Malio Coast on my eyelid. I actually like it. It's a very nice brightening effect. It's a very nice, warm tone brown, but it's actually quite light, almost with a hint of pink on it. It's actually so pretty. It's actually very easy to blend out. It's very easy to apply, and it gives you enough playtime to actually buff in the product and also to blend it out, which I actually like. Okay, so it doesn't really fully dry down, especially here on the brush. So at least you can, if this was a painting class, I can actually buff out the edges just as the product is about to dry, so that we get this very nice blend of color here at the edges. And I love that. It's actually quite easy to work with. You can be very instinctive about it. There's very little room for error. But then again, you just have to work with it, with intent, and you have to be very precise with your application of it, because after all, this is a a cream type of an eyeshadow product. Okay, and looking at the finish here on my arm, it kind of dries down into a powdery finish, and it feels like it's a powdery finish, but it feels silky. So maybe that's where we're getting the name of this product, wherein it says it's Cashmere Matte Eyelights. Did I get the name right? Yeah, Cashmere Matte Eyelights. Not bad at all. Very pretty shade. Okay, so this is Malio Coast. Okay, so the next shade that I would like to try is maybe Desert Rose. So I have the Rephr number 01 brush. I'm just really picking up the product here at the back of my hand with this brush, and I'm going to lightly brush this all over. Now, by the way, it sets down quite fantastically and it doesn't budge. So this is a perfect eyeshadow product to use during the summer season, and especially for someone who likes this one and done eyeshadow look, this would be perfect. And I like the luxurious feel with this product. Amazing. I was not expecting this to dry down into this type of a finish, but it's actually very, very nice. Okay, so I'm just using the tip of my brush now, and I'm just really massaging the color well into my crease, into my socket line, and I'm going to buff it up and out. Okay, that's a very nice color, nice shade, very brightening. And it's working also with the olive undertones of my skin. And I have on some bronzer right now, so it's really helping my eyes to pop. Okay, so now I'm just a little bit curious. I would like to see on how, these products would layer. Okay, so I have the color Malio Coast again, and I have it here at the back of my hand. And with this T3 brush from Sonia G, I'm just brushing the product here, thinning it out. And I'm actually going to go for a dry brush kind of a technique, and I'm just applying the color Malio Coast here into my socket line, and I'm going to buff it out. Now, the reason why I'm so surprised and why it's looking very warm here, it's looking yellow here on my eyelid, because here on my arm, it looks like it has a hint of pink in it, but I'm kind of losing it. So I don't know if the pink pigment here is too thin, that when it's mixing with the green undertone of my skin, it kind of cancels it out and becomes a neutral color, and I'm only left with this yellow tone on my eyes. Okay, I liked how that it layered smoothly and nicely. And now I have this Hakuhodo S139 brush, and I'm just picking up more of the color Malio Coast, and I'm gonna apply it here on the outer V portions of my eyelid, and then I'm just going to buff it out and blend it out. And with the brush that I used earlier, the T3 brush, I'm just gonna blend that out and buff out the edges. Okay, what do you guys think? I like the finish. I like that you're able to blend two different colors. I am seeing a little bit of some texture buildup, but I don't know if that's because of the finish of the Cashmere Eyelights here. So, I think because it has a powdery finish, that's why it looks like it's a bit textured. Let me try to see if I could, add one more layer of the color Desert Rose. Okay, and with the same brush that I used to apply the color Malio Coast here on the outer V edges, I'm just going to use it here to apply in the middle of my eyes, and I'm just using tapping motions for this, really bringing in the color well into my inner portions of my eye and well into my socket line. It's like I'm creating a cut crease of sorts, but the only issue that I am having is that it's kind of enhancing the texture here on my eyelid. Can you see that? See? Can you see that? So maybe that's because of the finish of this. And do I kind of like that? No. But let's see, maybe if I put some eyeshadow on, it might be less obvious. Okay, so I'm actually quite interested in using some of the colors from the Muse palette of Lisa, because I think they would play well together with this eye story. So let me pick up this shade here because I think it goes well with the color Desert Rose, and let me just tap it. Okay, let me buff that. Okay, so with the T5 brush, I'm gonna pick up this warm brown here. We pat it in, and I'm gonna apply that color here into my socket line. So I'm choosing matte eyeshadows, and I'm applying it over the matte RMS Cashmere Eyelights. I'm just trying to see on how effective it is, and I kind of see that it's actually working quite well, but I can still see the texture of the color Desert Rose here on my eyelid, and I kind of don't like that, unfortunately. I have this Chikuhodo pencil brush, and I'm gonna be picking up a little bit of that warm tone brown. I'm gonna pick up this dark brown here, and I'm just gonna lightly apply that here along my lash line. I'm just being very soft with it, nothing too dramatic. And I'm gonna bring that into my socket line and outer V portions. So keeping everything nice and soft. Okay, so I have this Limitless Brown eye pencil from Makeup Forever, and I'm just going to use this to line my upper lash line with this. Okay, and now with this flat definer brush from Sonia G, I'm just going to buff that out and blend it together. Okay, I do have to say though that it's actually very easy to layer on matte eyeshadows on top of this. It's actually very easy to apply. It actually glides on effortlessly, which gives it a very nice effortless kind of blendability. And I also love that I did not feel any clinging of the base eyeshadow with the eyeliner pencil. So even though if there's texture that I see here on my eyelid, it still glides, the eyeliner still glided effortlessly on top of it. It was it wasn't clinging into it. I was a little bit worried with that because I was thinking that if I had so much texture here that was caused by the RMS Cashmere Eyelights, I might buff it off, or I might flick it out. It might cause drop down or things of that nature. But I'm just so relieved to see that even after I buff in some eyeshadow and eyeliner, the integrity of the Cashmere Eyelights, it's still there, and it's actually quite pretty here on the monitor. But the only thing that I don't like is it kind of created texture on my eyelid. So I don't know if this is just a learning curve that I need to get through or go through. But let's see, we'll see. But so far I'm kind of liking it, maybe around 60%. Okay, and maybe let's add a little bit of some mascara just to complete the look. Okay, I kind of like how that turned out. Not bad, I do have to say. Okay, so I'm actually quite intrigued to see how this color Wildflower will actually layer on top of this. And this is actually a white color, so I don't know. Okay, let's just see and let's just play around with it. See, it's creating texture, which I don't like. I don't know if this is just my wrong process. So I have my Hakuhodo J142 brush here, and I'm buffing the brush here onto the product at the back of my hand, and I'm gonna buff that into the edges, and it's breaking down on my eyelid. I don't like it. It's clinging to each other. It's creating texture. Look at that. Okay, so maybe you can't layer one light color on top of each other. Maybe you can only layer a dark color on top of a light color. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to remove this, and then let's come right back to this because I don't want to be disappointed with this particular color. Okay, so everything is removed now from this eye. Let me just put on a hint of mist. Press that in. And now I'm gonna pick up the same color again, the color Wildflower. I'm just going to layer this on top. Use tapping motions. I can already see it drying. It's driving me nuts because I can see texture forming. Maybe I should go to the RMS website and see how you can use this effectively. And maybe we won't get this textured effect here on the eyelid. Anyway, so since we're playing around, let me see if this white shade here can maybe intensify a light eyeshadow color. So I'm gonna get this greenish shade here. So this is from the recent release of Lisa Eldridge, which is her Desert Lean palette. And this one actually has a very nice, yellow-green kind of an effect. A color tone. No, it's not working, you guys. It's not working. So I can see that the eyeshadow is clinging into the Cashmere Eyelights. And it's creating texture. There's no smoothing quality to it, and I don't like it. unfortunately. It's kind of okay here. So I don't know if this is just the effect that this color Wildflower leaves on the eyelid. But again, I was thinking of using it as a very nice base to make the lighter shades of eyeshadow pop. But I kind of see that it's like really helping this eyeshadow pop. But I can see so much texture going on. I don't like it. Too bad. Anyway, so let's just remove it. Okay, now I'm curious though. Let's see if we can use this, as an eyeliner of sorts. So let me just get the color Mossy Stones, and I'm gonna be using this Hakuhodo G5515 brush, and I'm just gonna use this, on the upper lash line, seeing if this can help us, create a nice soft definition there. Yeah, I can see that you can, but I think it's just too light. So if you're someone who likes, light definition in your eyelash area, you can actually use this. And because, as you've noticed with this swatch here, it stays on for a long time. I think this is perfect for, a nice hot day. I can actually see there's a green hint with this brown color here. I don't see it here on my swatch. So I don't know if the green tint of this, because after all, it's called Mossy Stones, so there must be a hint of green in this, and it might be picking up on the undertone of my skin. It's really looking nice here on my lash line, as an eyeliner, but then again, I can see the texture forming. So I don't know if this is again the concept of this being cashmere, and I don't know if cashmere has very nice soft velvety texture on top of it, but I think this is what they're going for. Let me try my lower lash line with this. Okay, not bad, not bad. Even here on my lower lash line, it's okay. I don't see it building as much texture as here on my, can you see that? When I close my eyes and try to press it into my lower lashes, you can see the texture that this eyeshadow has created. So I don't think a lot of people will like that in their eyeshadow product. Okay, anyway, so not so happy with how this is going on today, but anyway, so I have here one more eyeshadow that we're going to try, and this is the RMS Eyelights. So maybe this one has the shimmer in it. Yes, it does. And seeing how it applies here at the back of my hand, this looks to be amazing. So let me get a flat brush here. Okay, look at that. So let me swatch it here on my arm so you guys can see. Ooh, I love that. I love the shade that we saw here. I love how easy it was to apply and blend. And I think it has a dual shift to it. So this is the color Blaze. And I'm just gonna apply this on top now. Okay, I think I picked up way too much. Let me remove some here at the back of my hand. And let me buff out the edges. Okay, I'm adding one more layer. Maybe it would help, to intensify things. It's actually a nice shade. I love that. But for some strange reason, do I see texture happening again? Maybe not so much. I think it's just the pearl or the glitter in this that kind of makes it look like that. But it wasn't as bad as the Cashmere Eyelights. It actually looks quite pretty. I like that. And let me get a blending brush here. Okay, so I have the Crease Pro from Sonia G, and I'm just gonna load it here onto the eyelights. And I'm just going to lightly buff the edges of this. And then with a new G5515 brush from Hakuhodo, I'm gonna get more of that, and I'm gonna apply it here in the inner corner of the eye. Maybe just add a nice hint of sparkle there. Okay, I actually like the nice mauvey tone of this, but again, I'm seeing texture. Look, it creates texture on my eyelid, and I'm not someone who actually has so much texture on my eyelid, so for sure I know that this is caused by the formulation. Okay, so I think I'm just gonna put some eyeliner. Hang on. Okay, so I have the Goss Essential Eye Kohl Pencil, and this is in the color Amethyst. So it has a very nice, like, movie shade. So it kind of like goes well with the overall, color tone of this eyeshadow color. I can feel like, the eyeliner having a bit of trouble blending itself into the eyeshadow base. Okay, and I'm gonna buff this color into my, waterline here. And I'm interested in actually lining my lower waterline with this. And with the G5515 brush from Hakuhodo, I'm just gonna buff out that eyeliner and blend it. Okay, and I'm just gonna put on some mascara just to like complete this, try out. And let me just buff some powder into my skin because I'm looking to be a little bit oily now. So this kind of like concludes our try on for the RMS Cashmere Matte Eyelights and the RMS Eyelights. I kind of don't like that kind of like creates texture on my eyelids, especially the matte ones. Now, I'm more forgiving with the shimmery shadows because I know that glitter particles always creates texture on the eye. But I actually feel this to be a little bit heavy. I can actually feel that I have product on my eyelid. This one is more comfortable to wear, but this one is kind of like bothering me a little bit. Now, I don't know if it's because of the formulation or it's because I've been rubbing color out of my eye this entire afternoon. But if I were to choose between these two formulations, I would choose the Cashmere one because it's more comfortable on the eye than this one. Okay, but again, as I've said earlier, the only issue that I have with this is the texture that it leaves on my eyelid. But I actually do love the color tones that they have. Well, so far the ones that I have with me, except for the color Wildflower, that one is like a huge and I kind of love how easy it is to actually layer on powder eyeshadows on top of the Cashmere Matte Eyelights. So that's it. But I'm hoping though that in the future, if they do decide to reformulate this, maybe they can do away with the formulation that creates this cashmere-like texture on the eyelid, because it's better to have something that's actually smoothing. And if I was to choose between the Cashmere Matte Eyelights and the Lisa Eldridge Liquid Silk, I would choose the Liquid Silk at any day, especially that they almost share the same colors that they put out into the market. Yeah, but I kind of love though how long wearing this seems to be. They actually, the matte ones, they do dry down very strongly, while also the highlights, they actually also do, they dry down well, they cling well, but when you smudge it, the color actually transfers. Yeah, so that's it. Now, if you've happened to play around with the RMS Cashmere Matte Eyelights, please let me know how it works for you and the process on how you did it and if you like the effect or not, because maybe I might be missing something in doing this video and maybe I might also learn something from you. Okay, yeah, so that's it for me today. So if you guys have any more questions, please let me know down in the comments box and let's have a conversation about it. All right, that's it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope that you're having a good day wherever you are. Bye.